So right now, Super Tuesday polls open across the country, including Maine, where Trump remains on the ballot after the Supreme Court unanimously ruled in his favor and against the push to remove him. So how would it impact voters and the turnout in this election? Fox News contributor and former counselor to the president, Donald Trump, Kellyanne Conway, joins us now. So the Supreme Court did not just stand with the Constitution, but they stood with the voter yesterday. And a lot of people were concerned about the turnout today based on the reaction. It looks like this will actually help turnout. What do you think?
We should all applaud a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court. Even when you have so many of our institutions now racked with Trump derangement syndrome, weaponizing themselves against him, trying to stop him politically, damage him financially, that you had the Supreme Court 9-0, even the so-called liberal justices knowing that there's no way a state can remove President Trump, or anybody else for that matter, for federal office from a ballot. Let the voters decide. I think it's going to help turnout, and there's no suspense today. It's going to be another dominant day for the former and future President Donald Trump. And I think what's incredibly important to watch is how the left, including President Biden himself, Lawrence, consistently attack the United States Supreme Court every time they don't get their way and they don't get an opinion they like. They attack the institution, they attack individual justices, and would-be assassins show up at those justices' homes. It's time to turn down the temperature and respect the opinions. After the affirmative action decision last year, after the student loan case last year, after the Dobbs decision, President Biden came out and attacked the United States Supreme Court, basically called them mega MAGA, itself a phrase that is backfiring. And I think now, looking at April and the immunity case, that has delayed the January 6th trial. They're going to judge, as President Trump said yesterday, not just if he gets immunity, but any president gets a presidential immunity, full immunity for their actions while in office.
It just begs the question, the number one issue for Democrats, they say, based on their polling, is democracy. But it looks like they're attacking all elements of democracy. Well,
they say democracy, but it's really just code word for January 6th. They wake up every morning, the calendar says the same darn thing. It's always January 6th, 2021. The calendar never moves on because they've never moved on. And now you see them talking about that. They also talk about, they say women's health. That's just a euphemism for abortion, really. And these are the couple things we're going to run on because everybody's polling. Fox News, New York Times, CNN, AP, Reuters. You name the poll, it all says the same thing. Trump is dominating Biden in the swing states, nationally, and most importantly, on who do you trust more to handle the issues. I thought the most remarkable polling statistic in the last couple days came from the Fox News' poll and New York Times, CNN poll. And they asked basically, has Donald Trump helped or hurt your family? Has Joe Biden helped or hurt your family? The sitting president, Joe Biden, has 18% of Americans saying that he's mostly hurt the family. That means there's tri-partisan agreement, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, that he hasn't helped.
Kellyanne, I'm so glad that you went there because it is about what candidate is helping the American people, who's not. It's one thing I've talked about to the former president on air about is moving past the back and forth. It looks like there's a headline out of Axios saying that his top advisors are trying with some early success to steer the former president to focus more on the border and the economy and less on old grievances and personal drama. I would never ask you to disclose personal conversations with the former president, but what about that moving toward the issues, because he wins on the issues. It's the back and forth stuff that people sometimes don't like.
Yeah, well, I certainly wouldn't be one of the advisors leaking to Axios that I gave him the advice. I would just give it to him. He knows how I feel. I always say fewer insults, less insights. Having said that, he has a right to defend himself. The Republican primary opponents this time got pretty rancorous and personal in their insults of President Trump. And he has this effect on the people running against him. You saw Hillary Clinton's favorability ratings plummet. You see Nikki Haley's numbers going down. I think that people saw Ron DeSantis or maybe even Chris Christie as perhaps an alternative, somebody that was going to be positive and unifying, and they ended up being attacked. But I like the fact, and I just want to say this, in 2016, he won in Michigan and Wisconsin among the fifth who did not care for him or Hillary. He beat her by 20 points in Michigan, 40 in Wisconsin.
Super Tuesday special coverage. Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, join us live next hour.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.